What's up, guys? It's TechnoViking23 coming to you today with another Raid Shadow Legends video. And in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a pretty cool rare champion that I've really not seen too many people talk about that much in the game. And that is going to be Grappler, who is a rare Skinwalker defense champ. One of my favorite champions in this game. I've been using him basically since I started my main account almost 8 months ago. Actually, I think I pulled him from a mystery shard, and when I saw his kit, I thought he would be really solid just for use early game, a little bit mid game, and in certain particular areas within the game. Now, oddly enough, I could not find a champion guide on him anywhere when I first found him, first pulled him. And I was kind of curious as to why, because it seems like he would be a really solid champion, but in general it seems like the Skinwalker faction kind of gets overlooked a lot. A lot of people think most of the characters in Skinwalkers are just trash champions. I don't think that's the case, and especially with Grappler, I think he is kind of one of the unsung rare heroes of Raid. You'll often hear about a lot of the other rares like Apothecary, Painkeeper, Frozen Banshee, Cold Heart Bellower, even War Maiden from the campaign. There's a lot of other rares that people will talk about, and you never hear this guy's name come up, and it's kind of surprising to me. But before we get into that, let us take a look at his kit to kind of show you why I think he's a really solid champion. We'll get into his ratings too, kind of hopefully give him some fair ratings there. He's only got 334, which is kind of strange, but I guess just a lot of people don't know about this guy, or they just sleep on him. In the background, you may see a couple of screenshots popping up, kind of showing you where I've been able to even make use of him in level 20 content in the dungeons, and a couple of different clan boss runs. That's actually where he is going to have a lot of value for you as a newer player or sort of in the middle of the game. If you haven't been able to pull a poisoner, that's kind of my story with this guy, is you'll see he does apply poison. My main account, which is almost 8 months old, I had to use Yaga the Insatiable pretty much for about 7 months. I never pulled a Kale. I picked Elaine as my starter, and Yaga was my best poisoner for pretty much the first 7 months of my account until I pulled Frozen Banshee. So I had been using Grappler as my secondary poisoner along with Yaga, and just kind of making it work, getting a lot of mileage out of him. So anyways, let's go ahead and get into his kit, and then I'll show you kind of how I have built him. So his first skill here is Hoodoo, which is A1. Which actually is going to hit 2 times at random with a 15% chance of placing a 15% weaken debuff for 2 turns. Now, when I immediately saw that, I was like, this would be pretty good for Clan Boss, even though it's got a kind of a low chance to hit. And he's not even fully booked. That's another thing to keep in mind. When you're seeing some of the stuff go by, like my screenshots showing the dungeon runs, showing the damage and everything, keep in mind that he is nowhere near fully booked yet. His gear's not great, he's not booked, so he's still doing some pretty decent work, even though we haven't fully built him out yet, even though we've had him for a long time. But he's got a really solid A1, which again, that's why I kind of was wondering why no one really talked about him. Going to his A2, it attacks one enemy 2 times with 50% chance on each hit of placing 2.5% poison debuffs for 2 turns. Now, it is the weaker poison, but it's still 2 poisons with a 50% chance on each hit. You'll see in the fire, if the footage I tried to cut in works, you'll see him on Fire Knight 20, just applying a ton of poisons to the Fire Knight, which is pretty cool. So that's also a really cool skill for him, and again, he's not even fully booked out. The only thing on him I really don't like is that his damage is based on attack, yet he is a defensive champion. Now, I know Plarium usually doesn't touch rares when it comes to buffing or nerfing champions, but I would really like to see them change his kit to be more damage based on defense. I think that would give him a ton of value, and that may be one of the reasons that people don't really look at him, because they see defense champ and they see attack on his damage, and they're kind of like, that's probably not going to work too well. But as you'll see in a lot of the stuff we're showing, he can do some work. And then his A3 is actually pretty cool too. It's Envelop. Puts a shield buff on all allies equal to 20% of their HP, and a 15% reflect damage buff on all allies for 2 turns. Again, this is really, really good for Fire Knight. It's also pretty good in Clan Boss. And you can see, again, it's not even fully booked out yet. You can get it down to a 4-turn cooldown. And his aura here is just increases spirit ally HP in all battles by 19%. You're really not going to use that anywhere, so it's kind of a useless aura. If you're really desperate, I guess you could use it in the All-Spirit Champion secret room in the Doom Tower. But his aura is not really anything you're going to be worried about. You're hopefully going to be using somebody better in that slot for the aura. But again, really solid kit on a rare champion that, like I said, no one really talks about this guy. And that's another reason when I saw him, I thought Clan Boss, I thought Fire Knight, because his A1 and his A2 both hit 2 times. So you're going to get 2 hits on that shield. You're going to place poisons on that Fire Knight. You're going to put a weaken on that Fire Knight. And then you've also got a reflect damage and a shield on the A3. So a ton of utility on this guy. I'm really, really surprised no one mentions him. So let me kind of show you how I've got mine built. We'll look at his total stats here. And again, this guy's in kind of my average Joe gear. He's not even really, you know, in anywhere near the gear you would use it in game. But we're able to still use him in level 20 dungeons, which is pretty cool. Now, his biggest stat that I went for was accuracy, obviously, because I wanted him to be able to place the poisons and the weaken. Big on Clan Boss and big for some of those dungeon bosses. And also, the other thing I went for was speed. I wanted him to be fast, so he was going through, taking his turns, you know, getting those poisons out, getting that A3 back up. His defense is a little low, and his attack is not really that great, even though that's where most of his damage comes from, and his HP could be a little higher. Like I said, he's not in great gear, and that actually would probably go back and sacrifice some of this crit rate to get some other stats on him, because we're not really relying on him to do damage. We're relying on him to place poisons, place that weaken, and then also to use that A3 to protect the teammates and put that shield out. So the gear we're looking at, again, nothing amazing. We've got you know, probably a little too much crit rate on some of these pieces, but we just kind of put them in whatever we could get at the time. Wanted to go for some speed, so that's kind of why we rolled with a lot of these. You'll see some of these did roll speed a couple of times, which is why I use them. The only set I have him in is one accuracy set to get that plus 40. I would have liked to put him in more accuracy, but we kind of got the job done with about 250 accuracy on him almost. So he is in crit rate gloves right now. I'd like to change those out at some point. For something to give him a little bit more survivability. He's got an accuracy chest to kind of take advantage of his debuffs, and then we do have him in a 6-star pair of speed boots that we were fortunate enough to get, but they're not even great boots, but they did hit accuracy twice on the roll, which is why I put them in there. So you can see down here on his artifacts, again, not even fully leveled up. We've got crit damage, attack, which those could both be changed out for other things, and then we do have an accuracy banner that did roll some speed on the last one, so that's pretty good there. So his gear, like I said, it's not special, and you're able to see that he can still do some work in some of these later dungeons. Let me show you how I have him built out with his masteries. We went pretty simple down the attack. On offense, we took, you know, our 5% crit rate, and then we've got our 10% crit damage. I took Life Drinker just because he does take a little bit of damage here and there. His survivability stats are not great, so I wanted to make sure he could get a little bit of healing there. And then we've got the Bring It Down, so when he's going against attacking targets with higher HP, this is for those dungeon bosses, that's for Clan Boss. And then we also have the damage inflicted by his default skill. And then finally we do have War Master. Again, that's mostly for dungeon bosses and for the Clan Boss. We go into support. We started off with accuracy plus 10 because he does benefit from the accuracy. I did take healing him the first time an enemy's killed in the round, just to kind of help him out in dungeons for survivability. We did take Shield Bearer to increase the value of the shield buffs he puts out. We've got Rapid Response to increase his turn meter, and that's for any time a buff is renewed or expired. Kind of put that on there because, like I said, I want him to be going through his abilities, cycling those poisons, getting that A3 out there as often as he can. Again, 30% chance of increasing turn meter when any debuff, so his poison or weaken expires. He's got that there. We took Lore of Steel just to kind of help his accuracy stats out a little bit. We've got Evil Eye, decrease target's turn meter when he gets hit with the default skill. That's helpful on Fire Knight if he hits that. And then we've also got Sniper to get an extra chance to place those debuffs. And then Master Hexer to extend the duration of those debuffs that he places. So overall, he's a nice debuff placer, as you'll see in that footage from the Fire Knight, just putting out all those poisons. So just overall, an excellent champion. I think one of the better rare champions in this game that no one really talks about. So it is kind of unfortunate, but let me go ahead and go in here and we will go to, let's go back to his gear, and then we can go into his reviews and kind of talk about it. So Clan Boss 4.7, I think that's pretty good. I'm actually going to give him a 4 here, though. I don't think he's a 5. The main reason is it's very hard to build him basically once you get beyond brutal. He's really good in hard, he works in brutal, You'll see some of the damage numbers I did put up on the screenshots earlier. You know, he can definitely hold his own, but I think once you get into Nightmare, he kind of loses a little bit of value there, so I don't think he's a 5. But you know, I'm sure there's some people at in-game who have the gear who could probably make him pretty good, but it's just for me, he kind of fell off in usefulness right around between Brutal and Nightmare. I still will put him into my Nightmare comp sometimes if it is Force Affinity Clan Boss. But ever since I built my Battle Stage Unkillable team, I haven't been using him at all on Nightmare. So again, great for Brutal, great for Hard, and anything before that. That's why I say he's a great champion early and mid-game if you do pick him up to build up for the Clan Boss. So let's go there. Fire Knight, I actually give him a 5. He's got a ton of usefulness on the Fire Knight. Arena Defense, probably a 3. I tried him out in Arena because I thought he's so fast on my team that he can go second, and when he goes second, he automatically uses that A3, which puts up that shield and that reflect damage. So if you're worried about getting cut in by the other team, that can be kind of helpful. But it's just where I am in Gold 4, he's not a good champion to use in Gold 4, so that's why I would put him as a 3. You know, if somebody saw him on my defense team, it'd probably be easy pickings. Arena Offense, probably, I'd say a 3. I'll be a little nicer. Campaign, I think he's great all around. 4. Minotaur, 4. You know, he's not going to shine super amazing there, other than putting poisons on the boss. Dragon Slayer, I'm actually going to give him a 5 because I did use him on my Dragon 20 team just to get those poisons and that weaken out. Spider, he is awful. I would go 1 here. I tried him in Spider and just got 0 performance out of him. Magic Keep being negative affinity is going to be kind of tough for him there. Ice Golem, I tried him in Ice Golem. I can't remember. I'll go 3. I think he did okay in some of the if it was the Force Affinity Ice Golem, I think he did pretty good, but other than that, he wasn't super amazing there. Force Keep, I'd actually go 5 here. He's really good against Force. Spirit Keep, pretty much a wash, we'll go 3. Void Keep, same thing. Faction Wars, I actually would give him, it's probably closer to like a 4.5 because that's the other area I was going to mention he's really solid in. Because it's kind of tough to build a good Skinwalker team, and he's got a lot of utility in there with the poison, the weaken, and also the A3 with the shields and the reflect damage. So I think that's fair. So that's pretty cool. I don't know if I thought you had to submit the ranking, but I guess not. So that's kind of where I would put him on the. Okay, here we go. So we'll submit those ratings, and then to close this out, I think that's pretty much it. We could take him for a spin in some of the dungeons, but there's already some dungeon footage going. We've already showed some clan boss here. I don't want this video to get super long, but again, I think this guy is an awesome champion just in general. Great rare if you pull him early on in the game. Like I said, you can get him out of a mystery shard, you can get him out of a ancient shard, obviously. But let's just go into dungeons here real quick so I can kind of show you guys. Now, I think I did, I'm not sure if I used him in my last Dragon. I know Dragon 18 he was really solid in, but I think, yeah, so my last Dragon 20 I was able to do it with him in that team. I'm not going to run through that because that'll probably take too long. But we can go into Fire Knight real quick. And I'll probably have to speed this up a little bit because it is going to take, this is a long run here, 6 minutes and 20 is my best time on stage 20, but he is in that team. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and let this play so you can kind of see him in action, and then I'll speed it up a little bit and I'll jump back in toward the end and kind of give you my final comments. Alright guys, we're back in it here about 3 minutes and 45 seconds into our Fire Knight 20 run. Wanted to kind of just jump toward the end because this does take quite a while on the last stage. You know, I'm still not at a point where I've got an amazing Fire Knight team put together where I can farm this quickly. I've got Cold Heart and I do have Allure, who are kind of 2 of the staples to do this dungeon. But Allure is not built very well quite yet. She's basically just built for accuracy and critical chance so she can keep landing her reduced turn meter. She dies a lot in this dungeon, which is why we have Raglan in there. Raglan picks her up basically every 2 turns, the first 2 waves here, and then we just have to make it to the Fire Knight with her alive. That's pretty much the only thing we need here. So we're now on to the Fire Knight, and you're going to see Grappler here at work. He's just going to put out so many poisons on this guy. You're going to see a lot of tick damage. You do see Allure went down there, but you know, Raglan is awesome. She has a a 2-turn res once you get her booked out, so that's kind of why I use her in so many dungeons. She's such a good champion if something bad happens on your team. But again, we're going to watch what Grappler does here. There's his envelop where he puts out that shield. And just you can look at the debuff bar on the Fire Knight and look at all the poisons that are going up on him. It's absolutely nuts how much poison Grappler is putting out here with his speed and just being able to go so often. It's really kind of awesome here. And like I said, he's not even in really that great of gear. I can only imagine what an in-game level account with really good gear can do with this champion. And again, that's why I said I'm really surprised he's not been used more often. I'm kind of looking forward to now that I can farm some of these later dungeons like Dragon 20 and Fire Knight and also Spider, and just getting him some better gear and some better accessories and really kitting him out to see exactly how much he can do in some of these dungeons. Now you'll see here, obviously, you know, between Allure and Cold Heart, we're pretty much shutting down the Fire Knight's turn meter, so he doesn't take any turns. That's the big thing with him. But even if he was getting in some turns, he's got so many debuffs put on him that it would be really tough for him to beat us at this point, because he's getting all that poison damage and that weaken as well. So Grappler here, one of the better rare champs in this game, I really feel like, and that, like I said, just a lot of people sleep on this guy. Again, this is Fire Knight 20, so you can see here a rare champion in the Fire Knight team. Lots of utility in other areas of the game as well. So, like I said, this guy's one of my favorite champions in Raid Shadow Legends, one of my favorite rare champions. I think he's got a lot of use everywhere in the game. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this video. If you have any questions about anything you saw, please feel free to leave it down below, and I'll do my best to answer any questions. As always, I hope you guys are having a great day. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you again next time.